Hey, what's good, people? It's your boy LJ Mentor. If you ever thought about starting a podcast, may not know where to go, you might think it's hard to do. That's actually not true. I got the perfect place for you to start. You can go with Anchor. It's free, it's very simple to use, has all the creation tools you could possibly need, and it could distribute your podcast for you across many podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You trying to get paid, right? Well, you don't have to have any minimum listeners, and podcasts can make money for you. You got something to talk about. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Just download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Yo, what's good, people? We back at it with another episode of What's the Word with LJ Mentor podcast. And as always, I'm your host with the most, LJ Mentor. Man, we back at it another week. See, I do this every week. I got this planned out on my topics. Most of the time, my word of the week, I had that normally planned out. Sometimes that's last minute, then I figure it out on how I'm going to do my word of the week. I basically had that planned out this week on what I was going to talk about, what I was going to do. And I'm still going to talk about most of those things, but I got to start the show out a little different than what I originally planned by saying this in regards to racism. Now, I've said this before on my show. I'm a black man, and I've experienced racism before. But much earlier today, I've never experienced anything like what I did today. And I've seen the videos, but I've experienced this firsthand. And I was a victim of somebody who's extremely racist, and I consider somebody who's a racist and a white devil. This person was a white devil and an absolute racist and evil person, and this shit was crazy. This woman. So let me get to this point, and that's gonna be my word of the week is racism, because this is something I need to talk about this. I need to get this off my chest. This needs to be addressed because this is some wild, crazy shit, and I've seen it. Um, I've gotten harassed by the police in the past. I've seen some white people say some derogatory things to me, but this shit right here is this old ass crazy ass white lady pulled up on me. I pull up to the gas station. I'm about to get gas in my car, and before I get out to get the gas, this woman is banging on my window really hard, like really. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, what are you doing? So I roll my window down, and this lady is screaming at the top of her lungs, "You stole my car! You stole my car!" Like, what? You race, you person. I know this license plate. I bought 60 cars. Like, first of all, if you bought 60 cars, why are you not in one? Why are you walking around looking dirty as hell? Looking like you just stepped out of a fucking garbage can. Um, Old ass fucking, like, looking like you got you look like you stole somebody's pajama pants. They don't even look like they could be like if you had a granddaughter. Your pajama pants, some old dingy ass sneakers, and you look bad. You look bad, lady. Whoever the fuck you are, you look really bad. And you're extremely racist, and fuck you. And with all disrespect, and anybody else who's racist, fuck you too. So that we gotta hit it with the realness, man. Like, seriously, because This woman pulled up on me saying, "Oh, I stole her car," and she's walking around. She's not even one. She says she has 60 cars, and she wasn't even in one. She just pulled up on me, banging on my window, and she called me a nigger with the hard ER. You nigger, you stole my car. And I recorded her crazy ass. And you can see this video. It's on my YouTube channel, which is you could just go to YouTube and type in LJ Mentor. If you want to see that, actually, I tested it. If you want to even just put in the search bar, the next Karen on YouTube, you'll find a video. It's like the second video down as you search. You put in the next Karen, you'll see the video. Or, like I said, you could type in LJ Mentor, my YouTube channel, and you'll see this video. But yeah, it's crazy. I ain't never seen no shit like that personally, firsthand. And this woman also threw water on me, which is crazy. It was really hard for me to keep my cool. So I really wanted to smack the shit out of this lady, but I didn't. I kept my cool because I know exactly what that means. I'm smarter than that. I know exactly what that means. Um, that if I put my hands on this woman, even though she actually deserved it with her dingy looking ass, um, even though she deserved it, she, I didn't. I kept my cool, recorded her, and you can clearly see in the video that she was the aggressor and she assaulted me. She threw some water on me. I hope it's just water because I made sure I took a shower right after it happened. She threw some water on me, and she constantly was screaming at me saying that I stole her car, and she called me an N word, and it was just hate. It was hateful, and there's no excuse for that. I don't care where you come from, who you are. This is no excuse for that, and I'm not putting up with it. And yeah, I need to share my story about that. And I know it's a bunch of us, black men and women, who have dealt with something very similar to this. And I love to hear y'all stories about it. Because we can't put up with this, man. Like we can't let these people get away with this. And it's like, what can you do? Like, because I feel like at this point we can't call the police. I mean, honestly, growing up where I came from, I'm a black man from the hood. Honestly, I feel like we can't call the police. And even when I remember when I was a kid, we had to call the police. Um, my family, they basically they station is right at the block, and they take like 3 hours to come, damn near every time. But you get a call in the suburbs, obviously, and you know that there's a white person, white neighborhood. They show up in like 15, 20 minutes. Well, we know how that goes. And that's just the facts. It's sad that it's like that, but that's just the truth of the matter. But yeah, and even when you do call the cops, there's been many instances shown, like on video, where the victim, who's a black man or woman, whether they're getting harassed, whether they're getting assaulted, whatever it is, and they feel like they need to call the police on the person that's harassing them, and they show up and they look at the black person as the aggressor, or someone who is actually causing the issue or the criminal. They don't automatically assume like, oh yeah, they automatically assume we're the problem, and that's the issue. And it makes a lot of us even scared to call the police. Um, it's crazy. It's sad that it's like that, and yeah, I'm not comfortable around a lot of cops for the most part, which is sad because I actually do know a police officer personally. Like I have a good friend that's a sheriff. Um, but for the most part, like and I even talked to him about this, that um I'm hoping that you are using your power as a black man to weed out the bad cops that's out there. But obviously he can't be everywhere. But there's not a good cops stepping up to say, hey, these bad cops need to go. But anyway, it's uncalled for as far as racism. But I know it's not gonna ever completely go away in America. Like I'm realistic about that. We need to limit it um, as best as possible, and the people that do racist, condemn them. And honestly, racism should be illegal. I really think it should be illegal. It's sick, it's evil, and there's no cause for it. Like seriously, like it's disgusting, and I have no tolerance for it whatsoever. And after experiencing this personally, yeah, I definitely have no tolerance for it. And I want to get involved more so with some organizations to help put up the fight against racism. That's what I want to do, and that's what I plan on doing. But in the meantime, as I'm speaking to you, listeners, right now, and I appreciate you for continuing to listen to me. Um, that yeah, I'm just letting you know that what happened, and this is just another example of showing that this is not something that we're making up. Like some white folks think that this is a myth and racism doesn't exist, that there isn't white supremacy and all that. But that's a whole nother issue. But yeah, it's definitely real. Racism is real, and it's not going anywhere. Unfortunately, all I'm saying to you, the good people out there, whatever you are, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever you are, it don't matter. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. We should all be against evil, racist people. Because at the end of the day, it is evil. They're miserable. And they just want you to be miserable with them at the end of the day. Misery loves company. And I'm not going to allow myself to fall victim and be miserable with them. But I am not going to tolerate their bullshit either. So my last note as far as this topic is like I said, if you're racist, fuck you, and that'll be that. Hmm. And last but not least, try Jesus, but don't try me. We not, yeah. But all right, now after I got that off my chest, back to my regularly scheduled programming. So got that off my chest. So I normally, like I said, I do a word of the week, and I said my word of the week was racism. I'm gonna do two word of the weeks this week because I initially had a word of the week that I had planned to use. So, and this relates to my other topics that I'm going to address. And that word of the week is unorthodox. And the reason why my word of the week is unorthodox is because I feel like this week has been really unusual. Really, this month has been unusual in a lot of ways. Um, for one, we got all four major sports playing at the same time in September. That's never happened in history. Um, and they're in a like NBA playoffs going on. The NHL Stanley Cup just ended. I believe Tampa Bay won the Stanley Cup. Sorry if I believe it's them. I'm not the biggest hockey fan, so I don't know the full details of that. I believe it was Tampa that won. Um, but yeah, and the NBA finals are actually about to start tonight. So yeah, looking forward to that. The Lakers made it. I know a lot of people, including myself, thought the Clippers were gonna make it. But they choked in the Western semifinals. And so yeah, Lakers and Heat in the finals, and we got baseball playoffs, which is about right. That normally goes on right now in the NFL season, of course. So it's been real interesting to see all the four major sports playing in September. Um, and also, I'm gonna get back to the sports, but yeah, I just want to address really quick another reason why I think this has been unorthodox is the presidential debate, as I've called it, and a few people have called it. This is basically the next versus battle. It was ridiculous on both sides. It's crazy that these are our two choices between Biden. I actually think Biden didn't do as bad as I thought he would do. At the end of the day, like neither one of them were that great. They weren't. They both name called, and I can't even lie. Some of the things Donald Trump said had me rolling. I thought that shit was hilarious. when he started talking about when Joe Biden said he needs to get smarter, and Trump responded saying like, "Oh, don't ever call me, don't ever use the word smart with me," and saying he can't even remember his own college. And he's talking, he had a problem with Joe Biden always wearing a mask, talking about you wear the biggest mask he ever saw. Yeah, it's strange because yeah, presidential debates are never even are never go this way. It's never this bad. But when you have someone who's really has no experience and basically acted like a child, even as a 70-year-old privileged white man, that's what you get. So yeah, it's crazy. I ain't never seen nothing like this. And there was a guy, I'm not sure who it was at the end of the debate. He said he's been watching debates for many, many years, and he said this is the worst debate he's ever seen. And I get it. So I was, it's there's no good that came from that debate. It's crazy. I do one thing I do like that Biden did is he actually did call Trump out on his stuff, and he called him a racist to his face. So he has some. I didn't even think Biden would do that. And obviously, the big thing that a lot of people are taking away from the debate last night is Donald Trump calling out Joe Biden's son, saying talks about his drug problem and how he was dishonorably discharged. And I can't blame Biden for having an issue with that. And it looked like Biden wanted to swing on him. So, and when you talk about somebody's child, that's something precious. Like, and especially in that negative manner, that's just something you don't do. Like, and it's kind of you could tell it's kind of hard for Joe to keep his cool for after Trump said that about his son, and yeah, it was just crazy. And I don't see you can't. It was kind of hard for him him to be the adult in the room because they both acted like kind of children, really. And when both of them were posed a question as far as like, do you believe there's white supremacy and systemic racism? Trump never actually answered the question. Joe Biden halfway answered the question, and they don't have a real plan for black people. Joe Biden talked about how bad it is, but he didn't. He never had the actually planned like, okay, yeah, it is bad, but this is what I'm going to do for black people. He never said anything like that. So you could point out how messed up something is, but it don't matter if you're not trying to actually change it. So and Trump, he just completely ignored it. Basically the question. And it was one thing I didn't really like too that the moderator said. Like he said, these are the questions I'm going to ask you, but you don't actually have to answer it directly. I don't like that he said that. Like I wish he would have said, please answer them directly. Don't go off topic and drift into something else. I feel like he basically gave Trump a out or Biden a out actually by saying that. Like try and stay on topic. Like seriously, because these are very serious issues. Even though I feel like I was on the floor at times laughing about something, this is very serious at the end of the day. Like as far as talking about this election and how important it is and how people need to vote about this election. And this is real serious. This is a major issue in our country as far as systemic racism and white supremacy. And Donald Trump is never gonna denounce white supremacy because he is a white supremacist. So I mean, like I've been saying for the beginning, like I'm not for Biden or Trump. And I know I used the argument in 2016. I didn't like people saying the lesser of two evils because if they both evil, then what's the point? But I'm not taking that approach this time. I do believe Joe Biden is the better candidate, and I do believe that Kamala Harris will definitely help Biden out a lot. So and I know people talk about her record as a prosecutor and try and say she locked up all these black people and all that. But if you really do the research, all those records aren't true. That doesn't mean she's completely absolved from it, because she's definitely not. She definitely deserves some blame for some of those trials. She can't act like if you the head of such a major prosecution. If you're the head, if you're one of the top attorney generals in the state of if you're the person in the state of California, um, you oversee these major cases, she cannot be absolved from blame. She just can't. So, but that's another story. I believe, as a whole, I think she is the right person to help lead the country, and I think she's going to take charge more so than Joe Biden, and that's what black women do anyway. So I think definitely Kamala Harris is the best person for the job as far as that. But Joe Biden himself, I think the main difference between him and Trump, even though I'm not a big fan of Biden either, is I believe he actually will listen. I believe he's a terrible speaker, and I think a lot of people didn't realize that when he was behind Barack. Um, but you really now that he's running for the head seat, president. I think a lot of people are starting to see that he's a terrible speaker. But I think he will actually listen to the problems and say like, okay. But the problem is he doesn't have a real plan to help everybody, especially black people. That's the problem we're talking about here. So I really hope Kamala Harris steps up and really takes initiative and really listen to the people, whoever's the president, whether it's this fool Trump or Biden. We got to hold these people accountable, like we really do. And we got to do our own research in local elections too, because it is not just about the big election. It's for president. We gotta vote for our attorney generals. We gotta vote for our governors, our mayors, our local officials. We have to do our research and see who's good for that. Because at the end of the day, if you want to see faster change for your local economies across all states, you got to pay attention to all of those things. So I think even myself, we all have to do more research and be more sophisticated as far as those level of politics, locally. Yes, this election is important, but we got to start doing more, and we can't just do let it be down to these two parties. Is Democrat and Republican are not the only two parties, and I think a lot of people are fed up at this point, and a lot of people looking at this debate last night and say, yeah, this after this 2024, I think it's probably gonna be a different layout. It's gonna be different because it's yeah, these two choices are really bad, and this is what we got. I'm still gonna vote, because I think everybody should exercise their right to vote. Especially if you want to see some type of change, you got to do your part. Um, I still have an issue with the electoral college. That's one of my biggest issues because Donald Trump actually lost the popular vote in 2016. And we saw that years ago with obviously George Bush and Al Gore years ago. That was an issue where Al Gore actually won a popular vote. And I know they did a thing where they demanded a recount, and it was like it took a while to actually for them to actually announce who the president was, and they wanted a recount or something like that. And Bush ended up winning, but he lost the popular vote. But yeah, it's a flawed system, and I've had this discussion with a lot of different people actually about the electoral college, and I think we need to get rid of it. And I know some people from smaller states probably would disagree, because you might have some red states that feel like, oh, it's against them or whatever the case may be. Whatever state you in, I don't think everybody thinks the same. Um, so I feel like even by doing it just a popular vote, you are truly reaching everybody's needs, and you really get into it's a really fair election, because I don't feel like the electoral college is fair. Like it's really not, because there's some of these states that might have 60 votes, one has 20 votes, and if that state gets those 60 votes, that could really determine the election. So to me it's a really flawed system, and I really wish they would change it. But in the meantime, this is the system we got, and at the end of the day, we got to do our best to vote, and I just hope for the best um, in November and going forward and so on. I hope it's a fair election. We gonna see, and that's another thing they talked about too in the debate is both Trump and Biden were asked, "Will this be a fair election, and what can you do to reassure people?" And Donald Trump again completely avoided the question. He did not reassure people. All he did was said something obnoxious that didn't make sense, and he catered to his base. That's what he does, which is mostly racist people. So, and let's be frank, I don't believe everybody that is a Trump supporter is racist, but I think that if you support Trump, you don't have a problem with racism. So, yeah, it's it's really crazy, and this week been real unorthodox. That's why it's been unusual. It's been different. So yeah, especially with the sports. So yeah, let me get back to the sports real quick. Um, it's been real. The NFL season, which is NFL is my favorite sport. It's been successful so far. I think, and I was wondering. I feel like after week one, there was going to be a bunch of positive COVID tests, and they would have to shut some stuff down. But fortunately, they haven't. I think today they reported that 3 Tennessee Titans players actually tested positive for COVID. Um, Other than that, I think they got to test everybody from the Titans and the Vikings, the team they played on Sunday. So for the most part, it's been successful. And NFL is a big brand. They're not gonna shut down for nobody unless they absolutely have to. But so far, it's been successful. They've been taking some pretty good precautions. It seemed like some states have some fans social distancing and spread out. Some states no fans at all. Um, that would be nice to see some fans in all stadiums because nobody has a home field advantage anymore, and that's a major part of football. Is especially like when you watch the Saints. If you know anything about football, like that's one of the major things is they home field advantage. It's one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL. I think between them and Seattle and Kansas City and probably Green Bay and probably the four that are, get the loudest maybe. But yeah, it's been interesting. It's been fun to watch, though. It's been a lot of high quality football play, I think, and I love it. And I gotta, I gotta make up for my pick'em league. I think I'm kind of behind, so I gotta pick. Hopefully, I have some good picks this week. I haven't made my picks yet. But yeah, I'm gonna see. And NBA season, the NBA Finals, Game One start tonight. I'm looking forward to that. That will be good as well. All right, so last thing I want to touch on real quick before I get up out of here is Tory Lanez. It's another thing that's unusual and unorthodox about this whole story with him shooting Megan Thee Stallion in both her feet, allegedly. I have to say allegedly because even though we basically, I think, know what happened. Um, a lot of us weren't there, so and there was 4 people in this car, and nobody spoke. Or nobody spoke until recently. But anyway, Tory Lanez dropped a new album this past weekend, and honestly, I'm a fan of Tory Lanez music. I think he's a dope artist. I think he could rap his ass off, and he could sing. I think he's actually a really dope artist. And it's unfortunate, and it's fucked up that if he really did do this to Megan Thee Stallion, it's yeah, he don't deserve no sympathy if he did do that. Um, I've only heard a couple songs from this album, and what I heard so far is he starts out with some skits, people calling him out from Breakfast Club, Donkey Today, and a couple podcasts say he's a bitch if he actually did do that, and he basically played a bunch of stuff how people calling him out. And then when the song starts and he basically admits how he still loves Megan Thee Stallion and how people made fun of him for being 5'3", and then he said, "No, I'm 5'7", and I don't know if he has a short man complex or not, but it sounded like it. But the first couple of tracks I thought they were pretty good. I can't even lie. Like I said, I think he's a dope artist, and I can from a standpoint of just the music. I'm not talking about just the music, not the whole situation. But I respect the fact that he did it on record rather than creating like some IG story and saying or tweeting. Like I respect the music more. Like that to me, that's better. Like I can respect that. That from the music standpoint, not the entire situation, but just from the music. And I don't know. I might listen to it. I don't know. It's kind of crazy with what he did. But yeah. Anyway, that's it for me. It's been another episode of What's the Word with LJ Mental Podcast. Appreciate you for listening, and I'm out.